Now that summer's here, it's a great time to get out and about walking, hiking, and what better way to do that than visit some historic sites that we have in England. It's a great way to reach your 10,000 step goal, and it's massive for your physical and mental well-being. My name's Tom. I grew up in Wales and I've always enjoyed the outdoors. I moved to Manchester and became a nurse. Being a nurse, we see a lot of things that most people would never encounter in their lives. You get a lot of physical, emotional and mental stresses with that. So you need a coping mechanism, and this is my coping mechanism. Being outdoors, being in nature. There's so many studies that show it's good for us in so many different ways, and I absolutely love it. One of the things I found when I got outdoors is that often it's great to have a focal point that you can plan your hike around, such as the one I'm going to be doing today, which is the short but dramatic walk to Dunstanburgh Castle. It's an English heritage site, and we'll be travelling along the Northumberland Coastal Footpath to get there. The 14th century ruined castle sits prominently on the landscape and has long been a focal point for photographers, painters and wildlife enthusiasts. And you can see why with this scenery, with the waves crashing up on the rocks and the castle looking down on you. It's absolutely stunning. The 1.3 kilometre walk starts in the picturesque village of Craster, famed for its delicious smoked kippers. If you're driving in, there's a car park in the centre of the village, and there's also a bus stop if you're taking public transport. The walk along the coast is clearly signposted. It's a pretty gentle walk, but I would suggest bringing some sturdy shoes, some water, and some appropriate clothing for the ever-changing weather conditions. There are livestock in the field, so always keep your dog on a lead and always follow the country code. Hi, how's it going? I've got a membership card.
Got a member's card, excellent.
My name's Tom, nice to meet you.
Hi Tom, I'm Will, nice to meet you.
Great, I believe you're going to show me around.
That's right.
Hi Will, thanks for showing me around. What more can you tell me about Dunstanburgh Castle?
Really, the story of this site begins in the first years of the 14th century when a man called Thomas of Lancaster decided he needed a new home for himself. He was antagonising the king at the time, Edward II, who was a relation of his, and so Thomas thought, I need a place to be able to run to. He built himself a very grand residence that we can see around us. Now, Thomas unfortunately fell foul of the king, but a decade after this was complete, he lost his head, which can happen sometimes in the medieval period. We jump forward about 60 years and we find another big royal figure of a time called John of Gaunt, who was one of the younger sons of a great English king of the day, Edward III. And so John came to Dunstanburgh and thought, I need to upgrade it. And so he built new fortifications, he built some walls that we see around us here, and made a lot of what Dunstanburgh Castle is today as we see it. The next big change is in the 15th century, the Wars of the Roses. It was besieged twice in 2 years, and both times the constable who was in charge here, a man called Sir Ralph Percy, decided to change his loyalties given the threats that were facing him. A very dynamic relationship with loyalty Sir Ralph Percy had. And after Ralph Percy, after that time, the castle decays and it falls apart and people have taken stone from it and it's become what it is today, really.
So the remains that we see today, what can you tell me about them?
So they are very tall, they're very striking. although some of them are ruined to degrees, stepping into these spaces you can immediately see that although they were living in the 14th century and the 15th century, these people really had a very comfortable life. There were lots of nice fireplaces, private toilets, there's the remains of a bread oven that you can imagine the smell of bread cooking and the fresh dough and all that sort of thing. The most impressive building at Dunstanburgh Castle has to be the gatehouse though, and even today you can climb up over 15 metres of spiral stair to get these incredible views across the landscape.
Wow, that's been absolutely fascinating. I've got a really vivid picture now in my head of what this place would have been like. And even now, it's an incredible place to just stand and just take everything in. Thank you so much, Will, for showing me around.
Of course.
For you, what does it mean to be able to get out to some of these places that you've read so much about?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. As you say, I spend a lot of my time with my nose in books or reading reports, trying to piece together the story of these places. But to be able to get out of the office, stretch my legs, walk along coastal landscapes like at Dunstanburgh, see the flowers and the birds and the wildlife, and then at the end of it all, to come to this extraordinary medieval building, it's a remedy for all the times you're stuck indoors looking out the window, so I absolutely love it.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself, and even better for me to have my own personal historian.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got to go, I've still got to walk back.
All right.
And they said you might see dolphins, and there they are. Well, what an amazing day I've had at Dunstanburgh Castle. I've almost definitely hit my 10,000 steps, which the NHS really recommends walking to be a great source of exercise. And for my mental health, the tranquility in there of these old ancient places, it just really hits home, and I would highly recommend it for a day out.